Hello, one and all. It's my view of My Hero Academia, Chapter 343, Let You Down. And I've got to say, I am a little disappointed in myself. I mean, I saw Monoma last chapter in the same panel as Korgiri, and at no point did I think to myself, wait a minute. I wonder if this might be relevant somehow, some way. I wonder if Monoma might end up copying Korgiri's quirk and using it to teleport everyone into the battlefield. I mean, I was convinced they would fix Korgiri, get him up and running, and he would be part of this fight, but I never imagined the possibility of Monoma being the one who actually brings the quirk to the battlefield, brings the quirk to play here. I am disappointed in myself. I am seriously disappointed in myself. I mean, I am a straight-up manga conspiracy theorist, and yet that theory never crossed my mind. But alright, enough wallowing, time to double down. What else will Monoma do in this battle? I mean, last chapter we saw him with several people, and he can hold up to 4 quirks at once. So is it possible he also copied all their quirks, and is going to use them in this battle to stop All For One somehow, some way? I mean, let's not forget, all he needs to do is touch someone, and he can copy their quirk for 10 minutes, and he can hold 4 quirks at a time. Meaning that if he manages to touch All For One, even for a second, and then not die, he will have a copy of All For One, and can then steal the original quirk from him. He can take the power of All For One for himself. That would be interesting. That would be really, really interesting. And it would probably kill him. It would probably abso-freaking-lutely kill him. I mean, that would basically be him taking in hundreds or thousands of quirks all at once, and that would do a whole lot of damage to his mind and to his soul. I mean, I think it's been established that the entire reason why All For One is so evil is because he keeps stealing quirks, because over the years, as he's absorbed more and more quirks, more and more souls, essentially, it's eroded his own soul and turned him into a monster. So Monoma taking in All For One might actually turn him into All For One himself. That would actually be a really, really interesting twist. But anyway though, my next Monoma conspiracy theory is the fact that we can only see the right side of his face when he teleports in, not the left side. And when he first copied Aries' quirk all those dozens of chapters ago, that was where the horn first appeared. And back then he said, oh, I can't use Aries' quirk because it requires some sort of power source, something that builds up over time that I just don't have. But the thing is, we don't actually know what the power source is. I mean, for Factum, his power source is, fat. And it's possible that since that point, Aries figured out what that energy source is, and Mona was able to copy her quirk, and then take in the energy source himself, and is now able to use Rewind at least a few times before, the timer runs out. Oh, that would be interesting. That would be really, really interesting. Though I think it would make him just so overwhelmingly overpowered that seems unlikely. I mean, him teleporting everyone into this battle, that is his big moment this series. That is an amazing moment for him, and I'm so proud of him. I'm not really sure if I want him to do anything else. I feel like, Class 1A, the Procuros, they're the ones that should really be shining in this final arc. But anyway though, speaking of people outside of Class 1A, I am wondering if maybe Shinzo was the reason that Ayama's parents were able to lie to All For One so convincingly. I mean, his quirk allows him to detect any sort of deception or malicious intent, but if they were being brainwashed, then All For One would know that. As far as they knew, and as far as All For One knew, they would actually be telling the truth. Now, the big hole in that theory is that Shinzo said in the past that he wasn't actually able to use his quirk to make people talk or do anything that requires higher level mental functions, but it is possible that since then he's managed to evolve his quirk and learned how to do that, because, I mean, this is something I'm just noticing now, but if you look at Ayama's mother's eyes, they look void, they look vacant, like she isn't actually there, like she isn't actually present, like she's been brainwashed. In fact, her eyes look just like Deku's did when he was being brainwashed by Shinzo, so yeah, I think they're brainwashed. I think they've been brainwashed here, and that'd be a very interesting twist. But anyway though, next thing up I want to talk about is All For One's quirk, the ability to detect lies. He mentions how the original owner was a dull disappointment of a man, but his descendant is much better at it and is working with All Might. Now that line confused a whole lot of manga readers, but not fans of the spin-off Vigilantes, which I will highly, highly recommend. But anyway, in that spin-off, it was revealed that Detective Tsukachi has a sister whose quirk's name is called Polygraph, and allows her to tell if someone's lying just by touching them. A very, very interesting way of connecting the main series to Vigilantes. And as for the detective himself, I mean, it's never actually been said if he has a quirk or not, at least not in the manga, but apparently on Twitter, Horikoshi revealed that the detective's nickname is Truth Man, so I'm guessing he has a lie detecting quirk as well? I have a lot of questions about the implications of that, as a police officer, as a detective. Can you actually use a quirk like that in the line of duty? Can you tell if someone's lying or not? Do you need to get special permission? Does the detective have the hero license, which allows him to use his hero quirk as a police officer? I'm not sure about that. Very, very curious. I mean, him using his quirk on criminals would certainly be beneficial, certainly help society, but at the same time, if he doesn't actually have a hero license or some sort of special permission, it would 100% be a violation of the law, and he could actually go to jail for it. I mean, that might seem excessive, but in the very first chapter of Vigilantes, Koichi gets a ticket for using his quirk, not to fight villains or stop crime or anything like that, but just to get to his work a little bit faster, just to move along the ground at about the speed of a bicycle, because apparently that was a threat to pedestrians. Yeah, this society is really, really strict about managing quirks. Anyway, though, then Deku meets up with Ayama. Yay! As it turns out, his parents' lawyer has gotten released from prison, which, yeah, that's a lie. That is such an obvious, obvious lie. I mean, really, was anyone reading this and actually thinking to themselves, oh my god, Ayama actually betrayed Deku again, I can't believe it! No, it was very, very clear that he was leading All For One into a trap. But still, though, we got some rather interesting details of All For One's big master plan as Ayama was, talking to Deku here. Basically, his plan is to destroy all of society, all semblance of society, and then go to survivors and say, hey, you need water? I can make water. You need food? I can make food. You need electricity? I can make electricity. I have a quirk that can provide for all of your needs, and all you need to do in exchange is worship me as your demon lord, as your god. And it's not particularly a bad plan, but there are some holes in it, though All For One does explain that Ayama actually got some of the details wrong, which... interesting. Very, very interesting. I think I have an idea exactly what All For One was talking about here, because while All For One, has the quirks that can produce all these needs, he's not the only one who can do that. I mean, in terms of water, Kota can make water balls. He can make small ones. I mean, he's a kid, so he can make small amounts of water right now. Maybe once he trains his quirk and gets stronger, he'll be able to produce enough water to actually survive on. But Shoto, I mean, let's not forget, just a couple chapters ago, when he was fighting Deku, he made a pillar of ice as tall as a freaking skyscraper. I mean, that would be enough water to satiate a small town for quite a while. There are still people in this world who have quirks that can provide for others, so All For One wouldn't really be able to conquer the world that way, unless his plan is to go a step beyond that, a step beyond just offering people what they need. What if All For One's big master plan is to take the quirks of every single person on Earth, to take all that power into himself, and to literally become a god? And then every time a person is born into the world, their parents will have to bring the child to All For One so he can steal the quirk and make it his own, add it to his ever-growing arsenal. I mean, that would truly, truly make him an unstoppable god. He would be the only one in the world with superpowers. Though I guess probably not the only one. I mean, let's not forget, a big way All For One's managed to obtain so much power and control in the world is by giving out quirks to those who serve him, those who are loyal to him. And that would be a very, very tempting incentive in the New World Order. Not only would you be given superpowers, you would be the only person in the world who has superpowers, aside from the other people who All For One has chosen. You would be literally above the law. You would have the backing and support of a freaking god. Nobody on Earth could freaking touch you. And that would be game over. That would just be absolute and complete game over. I mean, I'd like to say, someday, somehow, Rebel Group will manage to survive. They'll manage to figure out a way to rebuild and find a way to fight back against All For One, but that's unlikely. That is really, really unlikely. I mean, even if technology advances to the point where they can actually fight back, I feel like All For One would have enough quirks to, read minds, to know exactly what all the rebels are planning, and would stop them long, long before they built up enough firepower to actually take him down. On the bright side, though, this would actually stop the whole, quirk singularity doomsday theory thing that they've been talking about for quite a while. That's basically the idea that says that each generation has a more powerful quirk than the generation before it, and as a result, there will come a point someday where children are born with quirks they can't possibly control, and they will wipe out all of humanity. And we are actually seeing that. I mean, Shigaraki was born with decay, Eri was born with rewind. If this keeps happening, if more and more children are born like them, that's more or less game over for all of humanity. Nobody could stop those children. And if All For One shows up and takes those quirks before they fully manifest, that would be a good thing, I guess? That would stop the end of the world? I mean, we still haven't really addressed how the good guys are planning on stopping the quirk singularity doomsday. That's going to be a really, really bad thing that seems inevitable unless they find a way to get rid of quirks permanently. Curious, very, very curious. Anyway, though, then Aoyama betrays All For One. Who could have seen that coming? Everybody saw that coming. Those acting was pretty good, and even Deku looked, genuinely upset in this moment, so that was impressive there. I freaking love Aoyama's line. In fact, I think I may have wet myself. No judgment, dude, no judgment. You just betrayed a freaking demon lord. If all you did is wet yourself, that is still impressive. That is still very, very impressive. But anyway, though, then All For One summons his army. We got Shigaraki, Dabi in a fancy new coat, Toga, a whole bunch of Nomu, and a lot of people I don't recognize. I think those are the 4 members of the Paranormal Liberation Army who managed to avoid being captured at the mansion. I don't see Spinner, though. That's interesting. He was supposed to be the whole face of this rebellion. The face of a new society where people aren't prejudiced against because of how they look, because they're heteromorphs. So where exactly is he? What's his big thing right now? I mean, is he leading the assault on UA? I think that would make a certain amount of sense. Let's not forget Toga still has twice his blood, which she can use to make very, very, very many copies herself, which would be bad. Very, very bad. Anyway, though, now it seems like the big ultimate battle is about to begin. The forces of evil versus the forces of good. Huzzah! I'm guessing Monama's next move is going to be to try to figure out a way to force everyone to different parts of Japan to basically separate everyone. I mean, the big plan was to separate Shigaraki from All For One by at least 10 kilometers, and also separate Dabi from them as well, because he's too much of a powerhouse and can take out their forces, so yeah, I'm guessing, he's going to open up portals, and the heroes are going to have to force the villains into them to go far, far away to make sure that they can't interfere with one another. That would make sense. That would definitely make sense. But please, also down below, do you think Shinzo brainwashed Aoyama's parents? They could lie to All For One? What exactly is the big next step of this war on both sides? What's Spinner doing right now? And, we still have the second user's quirk. It still has not been explained exactly what it is or how it works. And that's probably going to be a big deciding factor in this fight. Deku's going to whip it out just as all hope seems lost. Huzzah! I've managed to beat you, Shigaraki, because I have the secret quirk I've told nobody about. Oh, right, speaking of which, just as all hope seems lost, remind me another theory I had, and that is that we are going to get villains on the side of the heroes here. I mean, we've had quite a few villains in this series who I think are just, on the verge of being redeemed. Gentle, Labrava, Rappa, Overhaul, a lot of villains who I think end up coming back. Oh, Stain, and Korigiri, who could end up coming in and just, saving the day. Just as it seems like each of these individual battles is going to be lost, a villain will show up to save the day, to aid the heroes, and show that there is no one beyond redemption. I'd like that, I really like that, but please, all down below, be sure to like and subscribe. See you on this next video, and until then, peace!